Hi, I'm Ruth Ann Ritchie, Executive Director of the Orpheus Chamber Singers. And by now, I'm sure that most of you know that our founder, Don Crable, will be retiring at the end of this year. And so I wanted to take an opportunity to introduce you to JD Burnett, who is going to take over as our Artistic Director on January 1st. So welcome, JD.
Thanks.
Yes.
Exciting to be here.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have you.
Thanks.
So I know that a lot of people will probably have read your bio, and they know that you're based out of Georgia, and that you also run Canara. You were the founding Artistic Director of the premier choral ensemble in Atlanta. So what excited you about Orpheus? What made you want to come and join us too?
Well, Orpheus and Canara share some aspects of how they operate and the kinds of music that they approach. They overlap in some ways in terms of the type of personnel and the number of singers, but there's some interesting differences too. Whereas Canara began as a small group in Princeton of local singers, mostly Westminster grads, and then grew to a roster that draws from all over the United States. The opportunity to work with a choir like Orpheus, where the singers are drawn from the Metroplex, was interesting to me. They have a long history of 25 years of setting the standard in Dallas for professional choral music. And having been a student at the University of North Texas doing my doctorate, I was aware of Orpheus and knew that there may be a time when the leadership of that organization might change, and that I might be interested in pursuing that whenever that happened, because of the excellence of the ensemble. Exquisite singers in Orpheus. And I also think that part of what appeals to me most about an organization like Orpheus is that the singers are so flexible and can do so many different styles of music so well, and they want to. And so that part of it is really thrilling to me, because a season could range from early music to very contemporary music and everything in between, possibly all on one concert. And the singers would move so fluidly from style to style, language to language, sound to sound. And I love being around that. I love singers who are curious. I love the beauty of the sonic beauty that a choir like Orpheus can create, and eager to get to work, because it's been exciting to plan and to dream, but getting to just jump on board and get to work, roll up my sleeves, and meet these exquisite colleagues is exciting to me here in a couple months.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, this has been a very long process to get JD involved, actually, because, of course, the pandemic delayed everything for us. So I think it was a full year process for you, actually, between when you applied and by the time you finally got through all the interviews and auditions and everything. So
yeah, a very thorough process that I enjoyed very much. I felt like by the time the final rounds of that were here, I felt like I had a fairly good understanding of the organization and felt confident about my desire to take the helm of that. And on one hand, it feels like forever ago that I first thought about this, but on the other hand, it's gone by quickly, and to think that only about 3 months from now I'll have my first rehearsal with Orpheus is exciting.
Yeah. So given that Orpheus, of course, has a 27-year history now, that you're coming on replacing the founder of the organization, of course, which is it's a pretty complicated thing to do, actually, to replace, the big figurehead of the organization. So how are you planning to kind of build on the tradition that Orpheus has set for the past 27 years and keep going from there?
Yeah, it's an exciting prospect, and it's a daunting one at the same time. Don Crable has done such excellent work with Orpheus for the last 27 years, as you said. And I feel, in some ways, a connection to him because I also founded a group. And so a lot of my process of thought around that has been like, what would I want if I were to hand over my work of 27 years to someone new? And so my job, as I see it with Orpheus, is to honor the incredible accomplishments of the group over the last 2.5 decades and to preserve the standard of excellence that has been so clearly defined in so many performances over those years. And to know that inherently, by virtue of me being a different person than Don Crable or whomever it may have been, that things will be slightly new and different. And being okay with that, and feeling free to embrace the legacy and embrace the excellence and forge a bold path forward with new ideas. And that may include repertoire and personnel and choice of venue and market and all of these things that will necessarily shift with time, irrespective of who's up there, but certainly when someone new takes over. So I think, to sum that up, it's a kind of a sacred inheritance in a certain way. I would feel that way if I were on the other end of it. And it's a really exciting opportunity to take something so beautiful and interact with it in a way that makes it new, and to honor all the work that's come before by Don and by all the singers who've ever been part of Orpheus, and chart a new path forward.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting time.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
So in terms of sort of the practicalities of it, so obviously you're on faculty at the University of Georgia, but historically everybody in Dallas and the singer world has known that Tuesday night has been Orpheus night. But obviously you're not flying here every Tuesday because you would have way too many frequent flyer miles. So can you talk a little bit about how you're planning to structure the rehearsal process and how that'll work for the singers?
Yeah. I think to answer that might be to provide a little context too about professional choral singing in this country. The last 30 years in the United States has seen a pretty meteoric rise in professional choral singing in this country. And what an exciting time to be a choral musician when that's the case. And whereas 25 years ago, when Orpheus set out, there were only a handful of professional choirs, professional chamber choirs in the country. And the traditional model was, and in many cases still remains, a weekly rehearsal with a set roster for a whole concert season. What is sort of new on the scene in the last 20 years or 25 years is the emergence of what we kind of casually refer to as a project model, where a project is defined, a set of concerts and a certain body of repertoire that Orpheus would perform, and then singers are hired to meet the needs of that repertoire. And the most interesting part of it, I think, is that now it happens over a very contracted period of time. So in some cases in this country, as few as 6 days. From start to finish of a project, 3 long days of rehearsal, maybe 3 days of performance or something like that. In our case, it'll be a little bit more spread out. Our singers are local and many of them have jobs during the day, of course. And so our rehearsals are limited at this time to the evenings. And so it'll take us just a few more days than that to complete our rehearsal process. And so what it's looking like for us is we might begin on a Friday, and we might rehearse that whole week and give a concert the following weekend, and then be done for a number of months, and then come back together again and do it all over. Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting shift, and I think you've said that a lot of choral singers kind of prefer that method because then you get that very intense work in over a period of time, or just that set period of time.
Yeah, I mean there are advantages to both models, of course, but one of the palpable ones in a project model like we're moving to is that when done really well, it can really feel like choir camp. It can feel like a retreat. Where we are together for a really intentional and intense number of days, and so much growth can happen in such a short time when you're working with artists at the level of Orpheus's. And I think the singers do enjoy that. I professional choral singing has been an important part of my adult life, my professional musical life. And a lot of it has been on a project model as a singer. And I've always enjoyed that very much because it feels sort of like sacred time.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're thinking about programming, so not even specifically for your first concerts with Orpheus, but just in general, do you start with a theme, a piece? How do you go about building the repertoire that you're going to perform on a program?
It varies a little bit from project to project. I'd say if there were a trend, it would probably be that there is a piece that I really want, for instance, Orpheus to perform. And then I start thinking about the opportunities for a thematic connection with other pieces that originates in whatever that initial piece is. And it's amazing how that process kind of shuffles itself into an order eventually. It can be overwhelming at times. It can be almost desperate in times, like, what's gonna flesh out this part of the program? What part of the storytelling arc over the course of a program do I need to meet in this moment? And that can be difficult, but it's amazing when it comes together. And so I would say generally I start with a piece and things sort of come into focus from there.
So what do we have to look forward to for your first two performances in February and in May?
Yeah, boy. When you take over an organization like Orpheus, I think one of the most important questions is for your first concert is, what do I want to say? How do I want to receive the proverbial and actual baton? And what are my first steps? For this first program, I took impulse from the name of the organization, Orpheus, the mythological Greek musician, and have crafted a program of repertoire that's all music about music. And so we've titled that Serenade to Music after Vaughan Williams' piece of the same name that will anchor the second half of the program. There's another British composer, Benjamin Britten's Hymn to St. Cecilia, that will kind of occupy a prominent place in the first half of the program, honoring the patron saint of music. And then finding ways to texturize the program around that. So there will also be music by Lassus from the Renaissance. There will be music by some living composers, Rena Esmail, who lives in the United States and is an Indian-American composer. There's a bunch of other stuff, too, that would be kind of boring to just tick off right now. But it
sounds like you're trying to expand, kind of pull on that, what you were saying before about how the Orpheus singers can sing anything. And so
that's absolutely right.
I want capitalizing on that.
Yeah, I want everybody to hear Orpheus singing a lot of different styles around one theme, and doing it all really, really well. So I'm really looking forward to this program. I think it's a really nice way to start the year, a nice way to start my tenure at the helm of Orpheus, and a nice way to meet these singers, to be spending a week singing music about music.
And then in May, you're doing a Mother's Day concert. Is that correct? In
May, yes. It happens on Mother's Day weekend, and so that's where I took my cue for that. We're going to call it To Mother You. There's a beautiful Sinead O'Connor song about To Mother You. And I've loved that song for a long time, and we'll sing an arrangement of that. And then other aspects of nature and nurture. So things about actual mothers, and things about Mother Nature, and exploring different angles on ways that we are mothers and are mothered, and the ways that we interact with our natural world. So I'm, again, looking forward to that too. And I think it'll be a program of a wide variety of music that the singers will enjoy singing and the audience will enjoy hearing.
Yeah. Great. Well, it sounds, we're very excited to hear your first performances for sure. And
thanks.
And you, of course, will be at Dawn's final two concerts in December. So
looking very much forward to that. I can't wait to hear that. I've been to a couple of Orpheus concerts about 10 years ago, but never a Christmas one. And I know that the Christmas time is a special one for Orpheus, and I'm looking forward to being present for that.
Yeah, so it should be a great send-off for Don. Orpheus is known for their Christmas concerts, of course, and so hopefully you will all join us and actually have the chance to come and meet with JD. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it very much.
yeah, thanks.
Thanks.